Well, we have transformed the Virginia This Morning kitchen into a sweet spot thanks to local baker Leanne Fletcher. And today she's going to show us how to make her rich and decadent Oreo mousse cake. And it's heavy. We've learned that it's heavy.
It is very heavy.
Good to see you.
Yes.
3 layers. That always makes me happy.
Yes, it is 3 layers. So, of course, you know, it's a nice presentation when it's 3 layers. If you're a little intimidated by that, you can certainly cut the recipe, you know, and do just one. You can do a sheet cake, you know, so it's different ways you can, you know, always, you know, look around to these recipes.
And I walked up and I saw these containers and I said, you know, that looks like lard. And you said, that is like shortening.
Yes, it is. So it's a little bit different with this recipe, which at first when I, you know, came up with it, I'm like, I'm not quite sure about the shortening because it's not anything that you're going to bake. It's on the outside of it, but it works out perfect.
It works so well. As long as it works, we're good.
Yes.
All right, so where do we start with this?
So we are going to start with our butter, which is already 1.5 cups of butter that we have inside there. And then we are going to add in this. And again, this is the shortening. And
what's that, about 2 cups?
We have about 1.5 cups.
Oh, okay.
And then at the end, what we're going to do is you can do it 2 different ways. You can have where you can have the Oreos, which you can mix in with the icing, or you can put it on the outside. Okay. And so today we have it actually to where it's actually inside of those.
So this is the frosting that we're making?
This is the frosting, yep. So we've already made the cake, and the cake is really easy as far as we have the recipe on there at the end of the show. But again, this is a recipe that you can do ahead of time.
So this is just a dark chocolate cake?
Just a dark chocolate
favorite cake that you have?
Yep. So again, if you don't want to, if you want to cheat on this part and, you know, get the box one, you can. I would definitely say get a dark chocolate one with this recipe. And then...
and it looks like you made 3 distinct layers as opposed to making layers and trying to cut them.
Yes, yes. Again, you know, try to make it simple for yourself. So those pans are very easy to find and not very expensive at all. So just stack up on those. They can stack all together in your pantry so it doesn't take up a lot of space at all.
Right.
So again, we had 1.5 cups of the butter. And then we have the shortening that we put in there. Like I said, about 1 cup of shortening. And you're just mixing those together. Again, always cream for that. And we're just going to put that in and we're going to add in vanilla.
So would we call this a buttercream frosting?
You can, yes. So this is kind of like a basic buttercream frosting. Okay. Again, though, this is with that, having the shortening in there, that's going to give it where it's a little bit more stiff than if you're just using butter for it. And then we're going to have vanilla.
Now, where did this idea come to you from? Because a lot of people love like cookies and cream, ice cream, and things like that.
It is. It's very similar to the cookies and cream. So I like a chocolate cake, but I don't like it all chocolate, so I don't want chocolate cake with chocolate icing. And so this one is just a nice texture on the outside. And then, of course, we have it on the inside as well.
And a nice decoration as well.
Absolutely. And so to add into this, we have our powdered sugar.
Because it's almost like an inside-out Oreo with the chocolate cake and then the frosting, the vanilla frosting on the outside.
And then we're going to alternate this when we do this, because what we're going to do is we are going to have the powdered sugar that we're going to put in there, and then to keep it moist, we have milk. The milk is about 1/3 cup to 1/2 cup. It really just depends on how the icing flows that day.
And a lot of times baking something like this depends on the weather too.
It certainly does.
You know, if it's too humid, things don't work out.
Yes, especially with the cakes. We have somebody that was living over in New Mexico for a while, and they were just like, you know, just baking cakes and baking things over there was totally different than baking it here just because of the altitude that it was at. And it does.
That's why when you buy a box cake, it has high altitude directions on it.
It certainly does.
It makes a difference.
And so that's just going to continue on, like I said, as far as with that. And just alternating the milk and the powdered sugar.
And like we've talked about before, the alternation, when the instructions say do it, you should do it because it makes a difference in things like consistency and the way it builds.
Yes, absolutely. And so I will, just for TV's sake, show you just a little bit how we can put this together. Again, 2 different ways that we can do this. You can take it, now the one that I have prepared up front here already has the cookies in it.
Oh, okay.
So it's 2 different ways, but you can take it beforehand and just spread over top of it. And
I always worry about how much frosting I put in between and having enough to finish the cake.
Yes, so I would say to leave out about, again, this is going to make a huge amount that you're going to have, but I would definitely take out probably about 1/3 of the icing for the outside for it. And then you can just start stacking. And lay that right on top of there.
Beautiful.
And if a tip for some people that don't know, when you take their cakes out, a lot of times the top part is a little bit round. And then if you start stacking it, it kind of just goes sideways. And so the reason for that is just take a knife and just shave that little top part off to make it smooth right before you start stacking.
Because we're not going to see that with the frosting.
No, absolutely not. And so again, put another layer, stack it, and then from that point, you can do, again, 2 different ways. You can have the Oreos in. It'll be a little bit harder to ice
because in your finished cake here, we can see that you've got cookies in the frosting.
Absolutely. So the other way that you could do it is frosting the whole thing. Take your crushed up Oreos, again, my little bag trick to have all those kids involved. Take that, and then you can press just right up against the icing there. And then
make us a nice slice here.
Absolutely make a nice slice. And then we can see the layers on the inside once we're done. And again, this is a heavy cake. It is several layers.
Substantial.
And there you go.
That. Let's turn that around so that we can see it for TV.
Yep.
That looks beautiful. Thank you, Leanne. And we're going to put this whole recipe on our website by early this afternoon so that you can enjoy this. Go to WTVR.com/VTM. Thank you, Leanne, for adding a little sweetness to our Thursday. We'll be right back.